Well, guess what? We are live, Mark. We are live.
Oh, that's
You
great,
ready?
man. I'm just sharing this thing out here. So just keep talking. You can tell the whole world what we're doing here tonight, you know?
All right. Well, good. I just grateful that we're here tonight. And
Right.
tonight, we're going to be having a topic. We're going to be announcement, but elevate your profits. It's all about bringing good, valuable content to people and information, whether they're aspiring to be an entrepreneur, a current entrepreneur, or solopreneur in business. And we bring in guest speakers. We've had some pretty significant people, and that I'm honored to have them in as a guest. Maybe we can drop some names here in a little bit,
Do we
but
need to do
tonight
that?
and I'll let Mark share this. Our guest couldn't make it tonight, um, so but you go ahead, Mark. I'll let you.
Yeah, Wes Wyatt, a very cool individual, and he's the mainstay behind excuse me, Randy, I'm going to steal your thunder here. Randy Chafee's Building Wins, very knowledgeable behind the scenes and how to develop, whether it's podcast, live streaming. His mother passed. So, Wes, I was so sorry to hear that. I did send you a message, but Tom and I send our, you know, sincere condolences. But you, I, and the whole stratosphere knows your mom's in a better place. Since 2016, I can relate. I've been orphaned. You know, both my parents are no longer on this planet. And it's all about gratitude. And I know you have it. You're a tremendous individual. And I know you're taking care of business. And I know at some future point, we'll get you on, elevate your profits, because I really do have you on my list. And Tom and I would like to learn more about what makes you tick. So you take care of business, and we'll catch you very soon.
Yeah, Wes, I look forward to the opportunity to chat with you on our forum, but most importantly, prayers of comfort to you and your family during this time of grieving. Again, just prayers for comfort and love. So yeah, it's always sad to hear that. We've all gone, have not all, but I've gone through it here in the last
Right.
8, 10 years, and you have, and everybody's grieving is different. So there's no way we can say I know how you feel, because we don't.
No, we don't. Absolutely correct. You know,
Yeah,
it's different for everybody, Tom. It really is.
yeah. I know how I feel. That's all I know
Yes.
with regards to it. So, but anyway, Mark, that's going to be a really great interview based on what you shared with me. So, but tonight we're going to be gunslinging it a little bit here, and shooting from the hip. I should bring down a statue that was given to me. Matter of fact, I will. I'm just going to put my camera on.
Oh, where'd Tom go? We lost him, man. So Tom left us. So here I am. And, tonight we're going to be talking about options that we all have out there. I know sooner or later he'll join us. There he is. Go ahead. So what happened, man? See, that's the beauty, folks, of going live. There it is. There's the
I
trophy.
want to share. There's a story
Mhm.
behind this. I think we all have stories, and this one here, as I was a regional director of sales for a company after the what do you call it, the Bell Company breakups, and so I worked for the company that sold data networking business to business,
Right.
and I managed Southern Colorado, Albuquerque, and part of Texas. And we used to meet about once a month in Colorado Springs. And the owner of the company, John Street, wonderful guy. I just always like to drop his name. I've worked for only a few people in my life, but he's one of the top people working for. And so we had these monthly meetings, and he always recognized us in some significant way. And but this one meeting, and he went out of his way. He didn't just give you some little trinket. He went out of his way, and everybody got a sculpture by this artist. Can't even read it without my glasses. A very famous sculptor who created this thing, and he had all different one of them, sort of Western theme type thing. And because I'm the gunslinger, I'm all about sales and I'm understanding scripts and presentations and all that because I did sales training and stuff. But I was off script most of the time, and I was gunslinging. That's how I operated. So and then it blew their minds. How do you're Tom, come on, you're not doing it exactly the way we want you to do it. Right. I says, well, John, I says, are you happy with the results? Oh yeah, we're really happy with the result. I says, then and he gave me this as Tom, this is for you. Keep it for you're the gunslinger, man. He says, I've had gunslingers in the past couldn't produce, but I could okay corral them all the time. So
that's cool.
Anyway, I think tonight's appropriate for our little banter. Yeah. So I've had that for about 20 some years.
That's awesome.
But the gunslinger, I do shoot from the hip.
Geez, next I should pull out some of my crappy awards like ACE Award or Employee of the Month Award, and I've got them locked up in here somewhere. I'm teasing, but I do have I think everybody's got awards, but that's kind of unique. It's kind of better than I get stuff like this. I'll show you the stuff I get. When you get to be ancient, you get one like that. That's Best Dad. That was an awesome award I got there, Best Dad Award. And then, this one right here, you can take a look at that bad boy. You can see what that's all about. So, so I guess they were trying to tell me something,
Well, Mark, in the world of recognition stuff, I always liked the plaques. I used to have
I got them.
I had a wall full of plaques.
Yes.
Some people like plaques. I call them awards or rewards.
Right.
I like rewards, things that you can take to the bank, not awards.
Sure.
You can't take a big trophy to the bank, right?
Right. I always used to ask them, what am I going to do with this? How's this going to help my family? I can't spend it. I can't do anything with it. Well, no, but we're recognizing you. And I'm like, that's wonderful. I was always about dollars and cents since this is elevate your profits, but I'm just, when you're young and you got a family, man, that's kind of the thing that keeps you going, right?
Yep, absolutely. You got to take care of your family, and take care of yourself if you don't have a family,
Right. Oh, absolutely.
But tonight, we were talking this morning, and let's share a little bit of what we're going to do tonight. I'm going to bring this banner up here real quick. We're going to be talking about what's your plan B tonight. What does that really mean? What does that look like? There's some people say you don't need one, and some people say you need one. But I think in life we all need alternative paths to go on when we get a roadblock of some sort. We need to have a roadmap someplace else. But tonight we're going to talk about these 5. Where is it?
Oh man, we're going to stir it up tonight, boy.
I tell you what, good. That's the whole purpose. Get people to think outside the box. Get them to think outside the box. Well, Mark, we came up with this morning.
Mm-hmm.
We're in the last 2 years. I think everybody can agree with this. That this was no one's ever experienced what we've experienced in the past. Yeah, we've had economic downturns and bubbles break. We've had disasters. We've had all sorts of wars. We've had all sorts of things that disrupt a flow of life, a flow of business. But we've never experienced what we experienced, and still unknowns out there. And it affects us, whether you're in business for yourself or you're working for somebody. What's happening out there is affecting somebody. And more people, we're starting to see how many people it's affecting, right, Mark? Would you agree?
Oh, absolutely. It's affecting everybody, and some people, they had to leave their job because they refused to do something from a medical perspective that's in relationship to getting something injected into their system, and they chose the latter, to say I'm out of here, because they didn't want to abide by, at that time, company policy. I don't want to say the word, but we know what we're talking about here. There are some people that literally had said, I'm not going to do this, and have quit jobs. That's another thing that, some people have actually experienced out there in the real world.
Yeah. And I always like to say this. I'm so grateful that we live in the United States, that we do have liberties and freedoms. We have a constitution that,
Right.
that uh, that to protect our rights. And I think a lot of things are going to work out in the long
Right.
run. But in the meantime, there's going to be a lot of suffering while this thing shakes out. I call it shaking it out. But so I'm grateful that we live in this type of country, that we can openly talk about these things and not have to be worried about being shut down. Maybe we could be shut down. I don't know if we use the wrong terminology. Nice. Maybe might
Well,
happen.
I understand that the keepers of the keys here at the Facebook are a little bit more lenient than the way it used to be, but I just don't want to go down that road and mention names and all that other fun stuff. But I think people, if they're out there listening, know what I'm talking about. So,
Yeah, we're going to talk about, you got to look at it from a personal plane. How do these affect you? We did another presentation in the past, the 8 pillars, things that we got to solve, and they all fall in line with some of these elements right here. But yeah, the pandemic, the unknowns. No one knew what was going to happen,
right.
how this thing was going to shake out over, last March, last April, when things started being the 15-day shutdown, just stop the curve type thing. No one
Right.
knew what was going to be happening, what was about, what was true, what wasn't true, and I think a lot of people still don't know what is true. But that was an unknown. We've never experienced that as individuals, countries, companies, in that thing. So my question is, were you prepared? Did you have a plan B to offset? I can't go to work for whatever reason. So, Mark, in your business, how were you affected by the pandemic?
um, well, we used to do things face to face, Tom. We'd rent out a hotel room or a facility, or some would even come to our office for smaller groups. But it kind of made you think. I remember the last one we did, we were out there by the airport, and that's when a couple of our, I should say, our industrious keepers of content, particularly primary one, Andrew came up with an idea doing it this way and using Zoom initially, virtually. And it was kind of cool. You didn't know how it was going to be received, but I think we all learned like a year ago, hey, how's this going to work? And then some people didn't want to use that platform, so they wanted Teams. Like if you're an educator like my wife, they strictly live and die by Microsoft Teams. Then Google has their version, and there's other versions out there. But yeah, you didn't know, and you're like, hey, are people actually going to do this? Some people say they're virtualed out, but others say, hey, I like the idea of this because what you and I are doing right now, you're in Wisconsin, right? I'm here in Peachtree Corners, Georgia, the peachiest place on the planet, home of the world champion Atlanta Braves.
Oh,
So
now we're gonna have the city banter. Okay, Oconomowoc,
yeah, okay, tell me.
the city that debuted the Wizard of Oz. So there you go. We
Okay,
back and forth. There we go, buddy.
yeah.
No, okay.
But
Seriously.
no, on a serious note, didn't know how it was going to be received. And I remember I had an event that we were supposed to go to New Jersey to. And wow, we're like, wow, what are we going to do? And I just called up and they said, hey, would you consider doing this on a virtual level? And we were just starting out in the infancy, and we said yes, and it worked, and we did it for the same price. So it all worked out, but it was kind of wild. I mean, because you just didn't know.
Yeah.
So
I'm going to speak from my business philosophy, and I've had this for years, but I'm glad I had good mentors I had people that understood multiple streams of income, or we have residual bills. Do you have a residual income? And I'm glad I got into industries that taught me the value of building a business that paid you on the front end and then paid you every month after there in the financial services arena. That's why a lot of people go in the insurance, because they work, you sell, you do all this front end work, but you get paid for years if you take care of your clients,
Right.
and service them well. And that's one of the reasons I got in it, was that it provided a residual income, because most sales positions, you're unemployed until the next opportunity is closed, right, Mark?
Absolutely. And
So,
the end of the year comes and it's all over, man. Then you start all over again. So, yeah.
and yeah, so I learned that a long time ago. I didn't really understand it being younger, and applying these things as I move forward. And it's
Right.
been part of my philosophy, the things I do. What can I do to bring, a paycheck in, the reward, right? Not the award, but the rewards for the hard work, and pay me time in and time out. So almost all my businesses that I've been associated with have provided that residual income, because my bills are residual. So I want to make sure that if I wanted to take off, I continue to get paid, whether I sleep or gone. Um, so your experience is that with this COVID thing, um, this thing called streaming or Zooming has been a pretty good
Yes.
plan B, right? This is
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
plan B, right?
Yeah, yeah, it really has. It's efficient. It cuts down on wasted time from driving from point A to B, even through Metro Atlanta. And anybody that lives in this city, when I say Metro Atlanta, including all the counties conglomerate that are out there, uh, it's like driving, taking a road trip if you go from here to Cobb County, or DeKalb County, or south past the airport. I mean, it's Fulton, wherever you're going. Um, so yeah, it definitely is a big time plus, and it's a great way to engage with probable purchasers, customers, even existing customers, and it's kind of cool that you get to have dialogue this way. And I feel like I know certain customers because we use this platform like this, and now some are a little hesitant, but it just depends on the platform you're using. Some are like, we got to use Teams because of security reasons, whatever, and that's
Yeah.
cool. So we just adapt, you improvise, you overcome. And I gave shout outs to Robert. Thank you, Robert, for being here. And Ron, now Ron Goodwin could probably tell us in his business, if you're listening here, Ronnie, the things he went through, from a graphic perspective, how's that work, and I can tell you, I know for a fact, when the big C hit out there, he was making masks and creating logos. And so he went from apparel of various shirts and in the apparel end of things, and said, hey, I'm going to create, masks to help people, protect themselves. And there's adaptability right there. I mean, I'm sure we all kind of step back in any business you had out there. How's this going to work?
Yeah. With the pandemic, it affected my wife and I's business. We have a wellness
Right.
center, and we're body workers. We have a naturopathic doctor, what do you call it, a medical acupuncturist, and all different modalities, massage. But when
Right.
COVID hit, the mandates, or what do you want to call them, and we accepted it because no one knew, right? So
Right.
we erred on caution. But good thing we had residual income on my wife's side of the business. She's been teaching this. She teaches business and ethics in 2 schools in the area of holistic health,
Oh,
and
wow.
this is what she teaches. So we implemented some product and or services in our business that it didn't offset all the lost income, but our clients were still having a need for that. So we still had an income stream. Uh,
Right.
in that time of shutdown for about 2 months. We were pretty much shut down 2 to 3 months. Now we're back full, but it's the strategies that she had. My wife's income wasn't predicated just what she did in the center, but she
Right.
had multiple streams of income and contracts, teaching, right? Doing courses, doing coaching, doing consulting. And those are all MSIs, all within the framework of what she does. She didn't have to go off and do something different. I
Right.
think one of us has skills and talents that we could create a boutique or a niche product that we can use to support what we're doing as our main gig. And that's what
Right.
her business has done.
Right.
Thank God.
Oh, absolutely. And I know that there's other people that'll probably join us. They've had to adapt and improvise and overcome in their business arena as well. I mean, every business had to, because they couldn't go see customers face to face initially. Now it's kind of being alleviated a little bit. In the exposition world, they claim things are improving and getting better. I talked to a colleague from a former company earlier today, and he begs to differ. So it's all a matter of perspective because he's out there in the hunt for potential business in the exposition end of things. But I just think it's there right now, Tom. I don't think there's anything definite. I think the one thing this taught me, and I think everybody, is you have got to be flexible and expect totally the unexpected, because who knows what's going to happen the next 6 months. And I'm not trying to be doom or gloom. I'm saying, get in there, do your thing, work your butt off, and work your plan and do what you got to do. But you just don't know. I mean, logistically, I call those companies, they're going through a world of hurt right now to get items point A to B. And
Yeah.
people that are in manufacturing with their pricing structure, it's tough for them to say, this is what it's going to cost. But most important of all, when will I get that part? Or when will I get that piece of equipment? When will it actually be here? And they can't tell them.
Right. And we're going to cover that a little bit. I'm going to share a story, and it's important. As we're getting into this tonight, it's really about, if you work for a major corporation, Fortune 500 or some very large company, they have disaster plans. What would they do in the worst case scenario of a fire, a storm, something in the economy, you name it? They have already thought it out to the biggest extent, some better than others. But what happens with the small business person, or even a person has a job, they don't have a disaster plan. and I believe everybody should be looking at their source of income. If they're working for somebody else, consider it as a business. What is my disaster plan if they give you the pink slip or something comes up? What is your disaster plan? Most small businesses don't have a disaster plan. I belong to an organization here in the Milwaukee area called EIB, Excellent Business, and we bring in speakers that share how businesses, what you should be looking at, and have these things lined up.
Did you just say EIB?
EIB.
Yeah, well, there's only one EIB, Excellence in Broadcasting, Rush Limbaugh. I'm sorry.
That's not even trademarked. Did you know that? So we're lucky we can use it.
I know that's going back there to the late great Rush, but yeah.
Yeah.
He was a trip.
Yeah. But see, Mark, I think that's something that we're talking about, because we're busy, we're this or that, but and I coming from a financial coaching arena, I've seen it firsthand that people didn't have reserves. They didn't have a way to get out of a situation financially. And so we need to look at ourselves as a business. What would I do in all these circumstances? What do I have lined up? And
not to interrupt you, but did you see Ron Goodwin's comment? I thought that was excellent. I think if you take a look at that, he says competition breeds excellence. Totally agree. And crisis creates innovation. And that goes back to, those of us in the military, you adapt, you improvise, you overcome. I just always remember that, it was always beat into our brains. But it's true. And what Ron said there, totally agree with it.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Ron, for your comments. So, it's on a personal basis, what is your disaster plan? and list them out. What if all these things?
Sometimes it can be disastrous, just the plan, man. I mean, I'm kidding around here, but you know,
Hey,
sometimes I feel like I'm a walking disaster. I'm not, but I'm.
yeah, that's as simple as making sure you've got insurances, right?
Right, right.
Though that's part of the overall. How do you mitigate or how do you minimize exposure to risk? And so
Correct.
there's a lot of things we can talk about, dive deep into some other things, but um, where's that banner? If I can bring it up here.
And I just want to say, I know for a fact, being in the exposition end of things, in Ron's business, to watch how things have changed from a graphic perspective. I mean, I remember when screen printing was the do all end all, and what they're doing now with graphics today is tremendous. The technology that's involved and how they print banners, and I mean, these events that are out there now. I know I used to be involved with it, and today they just taken it to another level.
Yeah,
Um,
and
it's
that's a good
incredible,
point, Mark. As technology changes, are you positioned to take advantage
right?
of the new technologies, or can you create a technology?
Right.
That's where, like Ron's saying, it creates innovation.
Hmm.
That's a
Hmm.
lot of crisis creates that innovation to solve a problem, and now they're leading edge, and they just what save their own business, and they
Right.
can now help other businesses.
Oh,
But let's
absolutely.
talk about this
He said all
supply
banks
chain.
in America are required to have a working disaster recovery plan. That's true.
What?
He said all banks in America are required to have a working disaster recovery plan.
Yeah,
You know, yeah.
yeah.
Hey, Ron. With that, I wish they would have reciprocate that back to those of us that go to those banks, and help us out every now and then. It's a joke. It's a joke.
Well, they are taking care of you, Mark. They get,
Right.
Remember the old days? Coming
Oh,
over a savings account for
boy.
$10 to give you a toaster?
Oh, yeah. Okay. All right. Or
But
they tell you, hey, I want to work with you, but I need you to get this up a little bit higher, because if you don't, we may not be able to, actually help you with your investment plan. I'm like, good gravy, with what's going on in the world today. Required by the hated regulatory. That's good, Ron. Hated regulatory agencies. We won't go into who that is.
and that's a two-edged sword. There's, it depends who's swinging it, I guess, is the
Yes.
best answer. But let's talk a
Ron,
little bit about supply chain. I'm going to share a real story with you. I just
okay.
got off a meeting Friday night with a company I'm with, and was in the meeting, was heading the meeting, was the president of the
Sure.
company, and
Go
he's
for it.
he's in charge of worldwide logistics and compliance and all sorts of stuff. So he's making sure that every piece of this company, no matter what happens, can still operate. And
Right.
they had they had enough forethought to do all this stuff, and they responded as they saw some things happening because they had those things in place to meet the problem with the solution. So they didn't go out of business or couldn't deliver product or goods to the end.
Right.
So the first thing they did when they put this company is, number one, they recognized a long time, because of proprietary and patents and what do you call it, intellectual property rights for
Right.
this patent that they have on the product that no one else in the world can make. They recognize we're going to make sure that we have all the resources, the sourcing, supply chain here in the United States. Some of it, they took the decision to have their own manufacturing to make very specific parts, which were proprietary, because if they didn't want that to get leaked out. So they thought this through, that we didn't want to have anything outside of their control could shut them down, because they recognized if they had a supply chain breakdown or a labor strike, or a company in another company goes out of business, can't provide that specific. So they made a decision a long time: is everything in the company is sourced in the United States, and they have total control of the sourcing relationships, so that, because it's proprietary. So there's the thing. Where are your supplies coming from?
Now
What's
it's
going
now.
to impact
Yes.
Ron? Take Ron, for example.
Right.
He makes garments and T-shirts and apparel and customized stuff with graphics. But where does his supplies come from? What if supplier A can't get your product to you?
Hmm.
What's your plan B? And you got all these contracts to produce. You're in a world of hurt. So what does your supply chain look like? Where are your alternatives? And I'm sure Ron's got some of that worked out, but sometimes you have to go a little deeper
Right.
than, you know. So every business should have, what is my supply chain? And I'll just share with you what they saw when pandemic hit. They ship overseas. They ship to Europe, Southeast Indonesia, all over the world. And so when they manufacture the product in Utah and shipping to Malaysia or Philippines or Europe, the normal supply timeline from the time they load the container up to getting it to Malaysia is normally 5 to 6 weeks. Okay,
Did
that's
you?
normal.
Hey, did
That's
you see what Ron just said? He said
no,
down here, pull it up. No made in America products are stuck on a boat off of Long Beach. And he's right about that because that's been happening.
but a
Yeah,
lot of the companies' supply chains are still impacted by what's off the coast. So
right.
really source out where every piece of your product's coming from, because it still could be one of your sources still maybe we're looking to get something offshore. But let me share what this company noticed. So they knew their normal delivery was 5 to 6 weeks, putting stuff on a container, getting it there.
Right.
As soon as the pandemic hit, and they started seeing a trend, it was taking longer to get their goods to their destination. And they recognized, if this is going to be a trend, we need to up our productivity, get more product made, and get more product delivered to their distribution in these
True.
foreign countries. And then now what's happened, because they had that strategy, that same container takes 5 to 6 months to get to Malaysia. That's what we're seeing today. And it could be one little part in your manufacturing. It could be one garment that you have that something, a button or a zipper or something that would mess your whole productivity up. So they have worked proactively, and that tells me a lot about a company. These are pretty genius people. So they went through this whole entire thing of what they noticed, what they did, how they planned, what they're going to do. Even they were looking, if they had to restrict people coming into the workplace in the manufacturing plant, how would they do that and stay operational, and how their people bought into it. So they worked all the way through it, and they have never missed a lick. They haven't missed one lick
Right.
because they're focused on the consumer, making sure that this product is a health related product, so people need it. Okay, I won't get into describing anything tonight,
Right.
but it's critical that they didn't have a breakdown in supply chain. And they haven't missed a lick. Yeah, it was disruptive. They had to make some investments in certain things, but you know what? They didn't lose a customer. They didn't
Right.
lose. They haven't lost anything.
Right.
So I think when we took the supply chain, yeah, what is your supply chain? Are you able to still deliver in the thing? Everything that you get, what is their supply chain? If there's it goes down to the strength of your supply chain is only as strong as the weakest link. So no matter what you make, who's in that chain and when can it break? And if you're not doing that as a small business, you're going to be what? What do they call that? SOL?
I won't get into that, but yes.
We never experienced this before, Mark, have
No,
we?
no, it's all new because you just take things for granted. But when you're talking about where your items come from, whatever industry you're in, you got to have an option or a plan B because if you don't, I don't care if you're expositions, graphics, um, logistics. I don't care if you're
Card.
selling widgets, cards, mouses, for computers, technology. I mean, we can go on and on and on. Healthcare. I mean, you got to figure out where this stuff's coming from. You know, particularly if it's your own deal, or you're subcontracting out, or whatever the case may be, and it's not funny. So, you know, some of these guys I talk to now that are in the logistics end of things, it's very tough on them,
Yeah.
and
There's
they're adding in cost for like fuel and this, thus, and so, and even people that are in other industries and the manufacturing are adding that in because they're paying for that. They don't put it down there in the line item, but they're factoring it in, you know,
yeah.
and it's tough.
Mark, and even bringing it down to the me as a consumer, my family. I need food in my home, and we hear this on the news that chickens and turkeys and beef and all this is supply. The chain is broken down for whatever reason. It's not important why it is, because that's a whole different conversation. But the other day, my wife does most of the shoppings, but the other day I wanted to do something special, so I went to the grocery store, and I noticed, I come from the industry, in the grocery industry, it's almost 40 years ago. So I know about facing and stocking and all that type of stuff. But when I was walking through the store, I mean, the aisles looked like they were full because they were all faced out, but behind it, there was no product.
Yeah.
And then going through in the meat department, it used to be stacks of meat. Now they got it all filled up, but there's not stacks of meat. The
Right.
supply chain is real.
Right.
And so if it comes to us, I'm not talking about people go out and panic buy and, buy
Right.
out Costco toilet paper and all that type of stuff.
Well, we
But
see that all the time here in hot Atlanta when it snows, or just inkling of snow. Everybody buys the milk, the eggs, and within an hour it's gone. I mean, it's crazy stuff, you know.
it is real. So what is your plan? You got kids, you got to feed them. They need milk, they need whatever, right? What are you doing? Do you have reserves? If we had a tornado come through here and knocked all our infrastructure down, or power and all that. Yeah, I know people
Right.
live in Louisiana are just now getting real power back. They've been suffering
Right.
for 2 to 3 months, okay, from that last storm, okay? What's your plan B? To have a generator or having food that would survive because you don't have electricity, and all your beef that you just bought a half of beef
We
in the freezer that's gone. What is your plan B? To have food and water.
you're
But
missing
supply chain break.
you're
Go ahead.
missing some of these great comments. Patrick, you can start. There, AB's here. And by the way, AB, we are really going to meet. It's either going to happen tomorrow, Wednesday, and we're going to get all this straight. And 1,000 apologies, but I've had more stuff that I care to even think about. Um, then we have Patrick says there's not enough truck drivers. There's a bottleneck. 200% inflation in 1 year in the USA. Look out. That's interesting.
Yeah,
And
but we'll
then
talk about that here in a moment,
and
Patrick.
AB says pulling forward. We trained our employees to do that every night when they straighten the shelves. Yeah, yeah. He's talking about what you're mentioning.
But now
Um,
they're doing it to keep it faced, but there's no product behind it.
right, right.
Right. There's a shortage of product. So when that face comes off, they're out of
But
that product.
the best comment here this evening is that one right there. When it snows in Canada, we break out the hockey sticks. And by the way, since Patrick and Robert are here, the the whole sphere, the Canadian sphere is covered. So I feel safe. I'm going to sleep really well tonight that these two gentlemen are with us this evening. So I don't have anything to worry about. Yeah, and AB says it's a false face, is
Yeah.
what he's saying there.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
And he would
So
know. He's man. He would know. He's been in that industry, man. He
yeah,
knows the
I don't know
drill.
how many he had. Five grocery stores in the New
Hey,
York area, and he's another one that understands MSI.
right.
Okay, if you really want to know how to increase your income, create residual income, We have a relationship, AB, so you can reach out to Mark and I, and we'd be glad to share a little more detail, cutting cost and those type of things. So, AB, thanks for jumping on, making your comments there. There's a man that understands what we're talking about. He's exercising it in his own personal life and his business life as well. So supply chain, it's really critical. On a personal basis, where are you going to get your milk? If the market down the street, where's your, I live in Wisconsin. I don't think getting milk's going to be a problem. I can go out to the dairy and I can take a 5-gallon bucket to get all the milk I want,
Did you see what Patrick says here? When the pandemic started, I looked at my wife and said, one comment, food security.
Yeah.
I'm not laughing at that, but think about what he's saying. It's not funny. You just think, oh, I just go to the grocery store and get whatever. And AB can relate to this because, well, guess what? What if the shipment didn't come in? I remember when I wanted mulch or pine straw, I couldn't get it at Lowe's, Home Depot. I could go through the whole gamut. I haven't tried for the past 6 months, but I couldn't get it and it wasn't being shipped in. And then I found out why. That's scary stuff. I mean,
and on a personal base, I'll share what I've done. My wife and I reckon it didn't become on the political stuff and all this crazy, whatever you want to categorize. But the reality is this: one fire, one storm, one could shut all your utilities down. Could shut down. What are you going to do if you don't have food supply and a way to heat your food? What is your game plan? I have a plan. I have solar heaters. I have solar cookers. I have 3 months of food. I don't have to worry about it. I shouldn't have said that. Maybe now that I could, because I'd be a target. Ginn's got food. We're going to go to his house and get it. But anyway,
well, AB touches on this about how people, would hoard stuff in their homes. He touched on it. Let me see. Where was that at? Maybe I missed it. He mentioned something. Yeah, no one's owned any. That's true, Patrick. Yeah.
Lana's put something up here.
Lana, cool.
We're talking about here's things people say.
Oh, that was it. It was Lana for 7 years. I apologize. It was her comment as I was scrolling through here in a frantic race. I couldn't imagine how you could store that much in a regular house. Well, there are people called hoarders, and you'd be amazed if you've ever been around one, what they have in their house or their garage or whatever, man. But yes, great point, Lana.
Yeah. Today's, food, dehydrated, you can get a lot in a small containers. But if you got in that situation, you're not going to be a gourmet eating either. Nope. It's called survival at that point. Right. So you want to make sure. So that bring down to the supply chain. What would happen if the supply chain in your region was totally disruptive by a natural disaster? What's your game plan? Okay. Right. And that's what we're talking about. Let's talk about inflation. I think, who is it? Patrick said. Yeah. Was it Patrick mentioned 200? Yes.
200%. Yeah.
Let's talk about this. This is
200% inflation in 1 year in the United States. Look out. That's his exact quote. Thank you for sharing that, Patrick.
Yeah. And if you study CPIs and how the government gives you numbers, there's 2 of them. Okay. The real numbers are bigger than the CPI because it doesn't take in account for gasoline and some other things that actually affect our ability to, what our real cost of living is. But, in the last month, it was 9%.
Right.
The last quarter, Americans' wages actually went down, but went back up under what's been going on, 3%. So if you had 9% inflation, only had an increase in income of 2%, you're running backwards. You can't buy as many goods. You can't do as much. You lose freedom. You don't have money buys your freedom, gives you options. So what are you doing to offset inflation? Mark, what would be some of the things you would do to offset inflation on a personal basis? What would you do?
To offset it?
Yeah.
Me personally?
Yeah.
Well, the obvious would be, you can cut back. I mean, that's what most people do. You know, uh, try when I say save, you're really scrimping. Whatever you used to do, you just like if you can do it, and try. If you're talking food and nutrition, good luck with that. But
There's
if you
only
have to, if
there's only so much you can cut back in those
right,
areas, right?
right, absolutely,
So what do you do to offset that? You got to find more income to replace the
right,
deficit that's occurring.
right,
How do you do
absolutely.
that? Hey, some people do this. I'll go get a second job. No, I
Second
don't think
job, right?
most people don't. I've already spent 40 to 50, 60 hours on something I don't like.
Has anybody ever done that? I have, and I strongly advise don't ever do it. You'll be miserable. And my buddy that I talked to today, he did that too. He worked at I guess it was one of those logistics place. It begins with an F and ends in an X. I didn't say the word, but and it was a meat grinder.
Oh, sure.
Yeah,
Yeah. So what do you do to offset that? And that's part of that long-term strategy. It's like a major company. What can we do to bring income in if this income stream stops?
right,
Or how can we build off of it? What sort of products or services would be marriage this to support a downturn in a certain area? You can be doing the same thing with
right,
a part-time gig. You take your hobby, a passion, whatever, create a small business with it, or go out and find a company that you can believe in about a product or a service that has systems in place, and then you can just create a residual income. AB would be a good example to talk to,
right.
right? He's not selling anybody any product. He's just taking a look at what you're already using in your cell bill, your what do you call it, internet connection, and places, your essentials services that we
And
rely on, right? And all he
right.
did is, hey, if I can cut your cost by 20, 30% in that area, would you want to listen? Of course you would, right?
How about Lynn Eckenbaum? Did I say that word right? The last
Yeah,
name?
Lynn. Yes,
Lynn.
Eckenbaum. Yes.
Yeah, tremendous what she did with the gardening gloves. And we need to get her back here, by the way, but there's a prime example of
Yeah, she'll
someone.
be back. Yeah, yeah. There is it again. She loved gardening. She recognized a problem. She created a product, did her research, did all this stuff. COVID hit. She also, sort of like Ron there, did a pivot, making masks and doing
Right,
other things.
right.
But she was also stuck with the same problem.
Yes,
Supply chain. The fabric she wanted stopped coming in. What do you do then?
right.
And when you set a standard of quality and that type of, are you going to go to a different supplier and just offer less quality? That's a hard decision, right? A lot of companies, what they do to offset inflation, I'll tell you what Warren Buffett does. Not, what is it? What is it? Walmart, right?
Yeah.
They negotiate with, say,
Hey,
an
that dude
independent
eats at
supplier.
McDonald's too. I don't eat there, but he does.
Well, yeah, that's a whole different story. That's sort of in line being a financial coach makes a lot of
Right,
sense. But here's what Walmart did. When we buy a candy bar and it looks this big, right? What they did to offset costs and inflation and stuff, they negotiated and make it look like it's a 6-ounce candy bar, keep the wrapper the same, but we're going to cut out a quarter of an ounce on each one of those candy bars.
right,
And guess who? And the consumer doesn't sit there and say, "Oh, you're now at 5.5 ounces, not 6 ounces." So they found a way to increase revenue,
right,
and that's an inflation stopper. They're cutting back the amount of product they're giving the consumer. They're not being hurt by it. Seriously, they're not being hurt by the same inflationary factor you are. So, yeah, and just goes and things. If you do some research, that's what they've done. They negotiated all these
right,
major vendors to package stuff certainly for them. Cut a tenth of an ounce here and a quarter of an ounce here, and do this and do that. And that when they equate that to millions of units being sold, that's millions of dollars more profit. That's
right,
increased cash flow.
right.
What can you do in your business? You know, make your own value judgment what that
Right.
is about. But those are things your major companies understand how to solve.
Did you see that? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, Patrick, yes. Make the picture on the bag bigger, add more air. Oh my God, don't start with me on those potato chips. And I could probably talk to AB. I could go into a dissertation. You know, you open it up and then it's like, and you're like, man, half this bag only has chips in it. You know, the rest, it's all blown up. It's, yeah.
Yeah. And great minds know how to, and then there's more strategy behind it than we realize.
Right.
There's more strategy behind it than, and some people that's corporate greed. Well, it can be, but it's also a resource to offset the cost of inflation
Right.
and increase cost of goods and still maintain margins. It's a business strategy on the backs of the consumer, right?
Right. Absolutely. Wow.
Great comment. You know, Lana made a comment here. You know, how can anybody keep up 200% inflation? Well, that's a pretty big task, but it's doable.
Right.
It's doable when you plan it out. So, supply chain. Anything else you want to talk about that, Mark?
He said, well, Patrick, yeah, on ending on this, he said it's not corporate greed, it's CEO greed. And dude, I gotta agree with him 110 damn percent because some of these CEOs out there, I'm sorry, I'm gonna get on a tangent, but I won't.
Well,
Yes.
Mark, you and I, we're going to butt heads here on this one. I'm a stockholder.
Right. I know,
know.
but you know, I'm sorry, but they do put dollar bills over people. Not all, some.
Not all. You're correct.
All right.
There, that's what even with some things we're talking about. There's things that can be done ethically
Right.
and for the right reasons, but big companies, they look at strategery. I'm going to sound like somebody that strategic ways to offset all these problems that they're being affected by.
Right.
But they just learn to what? Solve it and pass it down.
Right.
Right.
And
It's always been that way.
and I know, and it gets passed down to the common man that goes to the store, you know, and or wherever who makes the purchase, and to you know, look at the price of gas. You know, you mentioned something here. Has anybody noticed that gas prices are not going down? They're going up. They're constantly going up, and that's another thing. You know, why is that happening?
Supply chain. You cut off our manufacturing to create that the energy independence here in the States and rely on somebody else that's not your friend to produce for you. They got you over the barrel, my friend. So
is that the OPEC barrel? Was that the OPEC barrel, or
what's that?
Was that the OPEC barrel that you're talking about?
Well, yeah, some sort of barrel like that. You know.
I'm sorry, I digressed. Robert says,
anyway,
I noticed $1.76 a liter where he's at. So Robert has a comment here, and yeah, he just said $1.76 a liter. So that's interesting. Yeah.
And I know here, I'm in Wisconsin. We got pretty low gas prices. I wouldn't want to be living in California where they're $5 a gallon right now.
We're in the threes. We're in the threes here in Georgia. Yeah. 3 plus, you know.
9 months, it was $1.97. 9 months ago. Supply chain is disrupted.
Okay, can we come on? We got to pull up what? Yeah, that's cool. Canada is your friend. Someone cut off our pipe to the U.S. Okay, we won't mention who, Pat. That's a good point. And then I love Lana. She says, this is not due to shortages. This is due to the political lugging that will eventually destroy a good portion of our economy. Okay. That's interesting. That
goes back to being in business. Who made the comment, Ron, about regulatory? Right. There's good regulations and regulations that disrupt it. Right. Businesses got to know what the regulations are, what's coming down the pike, whether they like them or not. Some of these that they don't, you know, hopefully You do have control if they're going to happen by you voting. But that's where the real
Sure.
power comes from,
Sure.
changing what's going on. But I won't get into that argument tonight. But it's really important to understand that businesses, no matter what you're doing, how are regulations affecting your business and what's coming down the pike? Be working proactively.
Right.
And are you positioning yourself to deal with these, quote, political decisions that are going to affect your business?
Right.
In most businesses, and most small business, I've seen it, they're not even aware. And next thing you know, they got a situation so big they don't know how to overcome it. It's too big to overcome. And if they had some strategic planning, they could have maybe gotten through it. And that's so important. Cost of energy. It affects everything.
Patrick, I hate interrupting you, but he dropped another truth bomb there. Yeah, um, Calgary, Alberta is like Houston, but they have a 40% vacancy rate in Canada's second largest city, and then all the pipe to the USA gets cut. Yeah, I'm sure that affected quite a few jobs,
Yeah.
quite a few people.
And what's the game plan to reverse it?
Right.
Be involved, know what's going on, cast your vote. And use your money. Don't spend your money against people that are using their power against you. I will not buy at certain companies because of their philosophies. I'll just put it that way.
Sure.
Right.
Sure.
I vote with my dollars and I vote at the booth.
Right.
That's the only way you change what's going on in our country here.
Truth, and Lana says, truth have it, we're not going to use the pipeline oil, but the pipeline was going to supply jobs that are needed and now more than needed. Yeah. Right. Yeah, it's absolutely.
And these are a culmination of all sorts of things. It's not
Sure.
just one thing.
Sure.
And it really comes down to no matter how it's being occurred, what your belief is, they're reality. They are realities.
Right.
And did you have a disaster plan in place to cover some of these? Most individuals and the biggest majority of businesses don't have a disaster plans. I'd say in individual families, less than 10% of the American people, because I've been in this industry since '83, don't have a financial disaster plan. Can't come up more than $1,000 in an event of emergency. These are real numbers, folks.
Right.
That's a reality. If you're one of them, you're really up. And guess what? There isn't enough money in the government to take care of all of this, right? That leads to the next topic here. Taxes. Mark, what's your thought on taxes?
Well, it's needed, but I think most of us pay too much. And I've often said this, that I'm a dreamer, but I would like to tell the government where my tax dollars do go if I had a choice. Where, if they're going to tax me and say, great, I want it to go here, 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 and here. And these other things over here, no, thank you. I don't want my tax dollars involved in it. But unfortunately, as you know, as we live in a republic, it doesn't work that way. They dictate to us where our tax dollars go.
And you know what, Mark? That comes. We're talking the politics. Taxes are reality. There's a taxes to maintain the security of our country and our police forces and necessities. But how does an individual solve tax problems, Mark? What would you think would be you're an individual, you got a home, you got a family, you got all this stuff. Now you're seeing all these four other elements. Now taxes are looking. What can you do to reduce your taxes, Mark? What would be your choices?
Well, you can do your own thing. You can become a business person. There's an incentive there. Believe it or not, there is. You can get involved. There's different programs that are out there. Whether they're network marketing or there are things you can do. You can even, if you want to politicize it, you can get involved and run for office too. I mean, you can make change that way, and some people are compelled. God bless them. That there are good people at our nation's capital that do fight for us. We just don't hear about them, but there are good people that try and take care of business for us. But there's other sources and forces out there that want to counter that for various reasons. It's about power, control, and I don't want to get into all that, but we know what
Yeah.
it is.
But taxes, we're all going to face them. What with property taxes, sales taxes, all these. Guess what? All these taxes they're put on, quote, the rich and powerful. We got to tax them more. Guess where the taxes are going to ultimately be paid? By you and I.
You're right.
In the cost of goods. Now, taxes are important. But guess what? As an individual, what are you doing to offset your taxes? A legitimate business of some sort. It could take a hobby, turn it into a business.
Mm-hmm.
And guess what? You're going to, and I'm not an accountant, I'm just going to throw these hypothetical numbers at you. Consult a CPA or professional tax person about it. But you take a look at your normal expenses, 80% of them, you're going to be able to write them all off or part of them off. 80% of what you're spending can be 80%, think about that, can be used in a tax leverage because you get certain benefits. I write off this office right here. My wife's got an office in the other side of the house. That square footage is offset in my taxing. My cell phone, my Uncle Sam pays for my cell phone because I use my phone strictly for business. My computer, my internet, my car, biggest majority of my car. I got probably $15,000 a year in tax deductions and credits. Put another $10,000 or $15,000 in your pocket. That would solve some of those other problems, wouldn't it, Mark?
Oh, absolutely.
I tell people, if you don't have a legitimate business part-time, you're insane. Oh, I ain't got time. You can't afford not to find the time.
Right.
Find something you love, and then the time's not an issue.
Right.
I love what I do. I get up in the morning. I run 5 different entities in my business entity. 5. How do I do that? Well, they all run parallel, and nothing is contradicting each other. In my wife's business, everything is congruent. Everything we do in that entity has multiple streams of income associated. My other business, everything has multiple streams, and I could just shift lanes and help my clients. I'm not doing off 15 different things. So find something you're good at and find things that you have a passion for, and guess what? Money will follow. Now you need some good fundamental things about understanding how to make a business run and marketing and sales and all that type of stuff. But if you're not utilizing it, you're missing the boat. And I'm saying business is for everybody. But if you want to solve some of these problems, get a business.
Multiple revenue streams is the key. Make money while you sleep. Yes, yes.
Warren Buffett.
Right.
Warren Buffett. And he's a common man with lots of money, okay?
Yeah.
He just bought his first car like in 15 years, He went from a flip phone to an iPhone after,
yeah, I know. I read
$3.17. It's probably $4.17.
I did a little dissertation on him, and I thought that was weird, but he had a flip phone. He just recently got an iPhone. That's incredible.
Yeah.
Lana has a great point. She said, Mark, taxes started in a republic to pay for the civil. I was told we are working on a total consumption tax on new purchases. It is something to look at the state levels. That's correct. Yeah.
Yeah. There's solutions to all this, but where it comes from, these solutions is you got to be involved and know what's going on.
Sure.
In your local community. I'm very active in my local community here. Okay. And that's where you get a lot of changes, is in a local community. As a matter of fact, we're probably going to have a guest on it. I haven't told Mark. Pretty significant Supreme Court Justice of Wisconsin. You might get him on our program.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So, so that will be a very interesting what to do at the local level to stop some of the stuff that people are upset about, and you can have a lot of impact. So, so
a lot of great comments this evening. I just want to interject here. Outstanding, some things making me think as well. If there are not taxes, there are no roads. Can you imagine no roads in Canada? How about a hike across Canada? You know, and
Yeah,
and 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 to his point, yeah, we do need taxes. I understand that. I don't think that's the problem. But there is an abuse out there of how people want to manipulate that tool. I'll be nice about it, and to someone else's gain, and that's not right. So
yeah.
just my statement, and I won't take it back.
Walking across Canada is 5,500. Is that how far it is across?
Wow, man. Hey, you Canadians, just so you know, back in the day, when in the 60s, I know I'm dating myself, my dad used to take us to camping trips, Algonquin State Park. I was there many, many a summer. We'd spend 2 or 3 weeks, and they had these docks where the huge ships would come in. It was tremendous. And there was a ranger, Emmett Chartrand, that actually took a piece of pine wood and whittled out an oar. And he explained to us when he was doing it, when you're in the bush, as they called it, if you lose an oar, you got to be able to do it. Oh my goodness, you do? That's great, Patrick. That's beautiful country, man. And there's a place they used to sell. Do they still sell them? Foot long hot dogs. My brother and I, we found this place. My dad said, "Why do they want to go down to the docks?" And there was this hot dog stand or something. So then he figured it out. He put two and two together. Okay, a little education, but they want some food in the process. But I wish I knew the name of that place, but they were foot long. We pay more taxes than most states, and we still have poor roads. Oh my God. Uh, I have a friend that hitchhiked across Canada. This is from Robert Booker. She recently completed her PhD in political science. That's cool. That's very cool. I can drive there in 40 minutes. Yeah, okay. Neat.
Hey, Patrick, we're coming up. We're going to go fishing. You show us how to catch
Yeah.
those big rainbows up there. And
Oh, wow. That's a neat place. And and when we camped there, because we were really in the thick of things, I remember there were bears around us. They didn't bug us, or there were, we were in a tent, and I'm just like, as kids, you think, hey, this is cool. And I remember my mom and sister were freaking out. My brother were young at the time. We're like, hey, there's a bear over there. Check him out. And my dad's like, don't bother him. We didn't know any better then.
no,
Footlongs are what? Are
God
Ginn?
food.
God food. Okay. Okay. I'm sorry I couldn't see that. Yeah. Yeah, man. Those hot dogs were awesome. Footlong.
Walleyes. Okay, you got the walleye thing.
Yep. Man. Holy moly.
Yeah, we
That's
do walleyes down here in Wisconsin. That's sort of a big deal here
right.
in Wisconsin. Walleyes and muskies and all that good stuff. Wisconsin has more lakes than Minnesota, and Minnesota's the land of lakes. We have actually more lakes than Minnesota here. 27-inch.
Wow.
What do you think? Is Patrick giving us a fish story right now?
I don't know, man. I mean, I'm waiting for Robert to hop in here and tell me no, it's 32 inch, or something. Um, but I really like salmon. I got it. That's my favorite of all the fish for me. That's
Yeah,
what I prefer.
but go check the price of salmon today.
Yeah, it's not cheap. And that goes back to what we were talking about. No, man, I
He
ate
ate
it.
it.
No, darn.
Well, Mark, I tell you what, I was really concerned we'd have enough content to talk about, but we got great participation, and
Yeah,
these are serious problems, folks, and we can't take them lightly as individuals, small businesses. What
right.
are you looking long term? What is the worst case scenario that can happen to you? And who would ever know the pandemic would have this sort of ripple effect? It was the big boulder that dropped in the ocean. We got a
Right.
tidal wave of issues coming our way. A tidal wave, folks. What's your plan? This isn't going to go away in 2 weeks. We have just seen the tip of the spear, in my opinion. And I encourage people, really look at your personal life, your business, and really start looking at how can you solve any or all these things that are coming down the pike. If you can save one or two, you're going to survive it in a much different way. And I just encourage everybody, personally as well as business, to become more prudent in your strategic planning.
Yeah, I mean, like what you just mentioned, like Robert, he was the first guy on here. Then Ron, they great comments by Robert, Ron, you know, AB, Lana, Patrick. I mean, some really good stuff that makes you think. And here's another one. What is the best fish there? Stripers or something like that. Those walleyes are fantastic. The Fergusons used to go to Canada and fish, and I think they had to walk into where they were going. Yeah.
Yeah. Some of those places you have to fly in with a plane to a lake or something. You know, they're pretty remote areas.
My
So,
my brother-in-law went up there and they hunted bear. Wow, that he said that's some scary stuff. They were in the thick of it and they were in the bush. Yeah.
yeah, Patrick, thanks much. We're all affected by what's going
Right.
on, not just
Right.
the United States. Yeah, we're all affected by this.
Right. That's neat to have people from Canada on here.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
guys can play hockey like there's no tomorrow. Man, I swear. Always it's great hockey teams.
Oh yeah. What else are you going to do in the wintertime, right?
Right.
Well, Mark, I tell you what, we got an hour and 15 minutes in tonight, so that was
That's incredible.
Yeah.
I think we can shut it down. We rambled enough, but I enjoyed it. This was a good, how do you say, venting? I really wasn't venting, but no, it was good dialogue with everybody. And Ron, I really appreciate your comments too. Ron Goodwin. I love that comment that you made about competition and, what it does and innovation and what that does. And, they're good things.
And Patrick says we drink beer like no tomorrow. He's never been to Wisconsin.
Well, yeah, I was going to say now there, if you go to probably one of your Oktoberfest events, I'm sure where you live, Tom, they're probably gone crazy.
I've been around the country and I've never seen a culture of people drink more here than any place else.
Right.
When they travel, Wisconsin Badgers go to bowl games and stuff. And of course, all these business strategically planning their alcohol and all that type of stuff. They never have enough liquor for the Wisconsinites, whether it be beer or liquor. They run out. So if Wisconsin comes to a bowl game somewhere, so whatever city it is, double your orders so you can meet that demand. No supply shortages. I'm just warning you now by the consultant of Wisconsin drinking. Okay, so
yes. There is a family here that I know. My son played baseball with them, the Walsh family, and they have Packer parties and this and that. And yes, and they do like to drink their beer. That is true. They like to have a great time. But they actually invite people like on Monday Night Football or Sundays, and they have their Packer parties. Yeah, pretty wild stuff.
Yeah,
and they are from your neck of the woods, Tom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Mark, let's. I pretty much, he said great vibes. This is serious stuff. Want to have fun with it, but take it seriously, folks, on an individual basis or your business. What are you doing?
Right.
Yeah.
Have you been to Thunder Bay or Calgary? Wow. Well, that's incredible.
No, I haven't, but I guess I'm going to have to come and test the waters. I guess they say.
Yeah, man. Well,
so
thanks everybody. That's all I have. I mean, I think we covered the gamut of inflation, income, job security. We didn't get user specific on what some people are into. Hippo video, mailbox power. I'm sure that'll come down at a future broadcast. We can get into all that. And, you know, those are other tools that are out there to help people in their businesses.
Yeah. And speaking of helping people in their businesses, next week's guest
Let's have a
is
drum roll.
Jay Skinner.
Hmm.
Jay Skinner's coming in. We're gonna. I talked to him earlier today, so we got a little fine-tuned discussion on what the conversation about. It's going to be so dynamic to help people better understand how to win this thing called business.
Right.
And he delivers a message uniquely. And we're going to have a little bit of live music on our stream. If anybody knows Jay, he's going to do a little piano opening.
Yeah.
You need to be here. You don't want to miss that one.
I know he plays keyboard, right? He's
yeah, he sings a little bit.
Right. That's cool. I'm all for it. So if he
we may just end up, I don't sing or dance or play an instrument, so we're out of luck there. I can't jam with them. I know you dance, Mark.
Oh yeah. Well, I'm getting ready to go there right now. I guess we're still working on that thing called the two-step. Yeah.
All right.
Be there, be square.
Yeah. So turn on your notification for next Monday night. We're going to have a dynamic guest. I'm excited to talk with Jay, and he's a hoot. He's serious, has fun, and I think that's going to be a great takeaway of what it takes to be successful in the thing called business of life, is taking some of his philosophies. So anything else, my friend? We'll sign out, buddy.
I think it's ready. I hear the that's it. That's the end of the round.
All right, we're signing out. And one more comment here. We see who's put up this last comment here. See, make sure we.
You will need a piano. And
well, Jay has his own piano, so we're in good shape. So everybody, thanks much. It was with the gratitude that you joined in and commented tonight.
Thank you, guys.
Much appreciated.
Right.